संकीर्तन जगत की जय, श्री श्री गौरनिताय भगवान की जय, श्री श्री जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा दर्शन चक्र की जय, श्री श्री राधा माधव की वृंद की जय, श्री श्री लक्ष्मी नृसिंह भगवान की जय, श्री प्रभुपाद की जय, श्री गुरु महाराज की जय, अनंतपति वैष्णव भक्त वृंद की जय, गौ प्रेमानंदे वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमः। अनंतकोटि वैष्णव भक्तवृंद की जय, गौर प्रेमानंदे। हाँ, ऑफ कर दो, ऑफ करना। हम रात्रि रेडी और ठीक है। सायन एकादशी ना जी, हरिदासन एकादशी 53 और लॉन्ग 5 पेजेस। हाँ इंग्लिश रे पढ़ दो कंटिन्यूस। हाँ प्राय समस्त इंग्लिश पढ़ुଛନ୍ତି ना, ला बुझुଛନ୍ତି ना, लास्ट कह दे। अच्छा हरिशयन एकादशी, हरिशयन एकादशी की जय। द टॉपिक्स ऑफ शयन देवशयनी और पद्म एकादशी are described in the Bhavishyatara Purana in the conversation between Lord Krishna and Maharaj Yudhishthir. महाराज युधिष्ठिर आउ कृष्णଙ୍କର कन्वर्सेशन कथोपकथन कौन लिखाई ना भविष्योत्तर पुराण में लिखाई हरिशयन एकादशी विषय। Once Maharaj Yudhishthir said, O Kesav, what is the name of the Ekadashi that occurs during the waxing moon in the month of June, July? Who is the worshipable deity for this sacred day? And what is the rules and regulations for observing this Ekadashi? Please explain these details to me. तारे युधिष्ठिर महाराज पचारे कृष्ण को ये जून जुलाई मसरे जो वाक्सिंग मून ने जो एकादशी आसुची एकादशी ना कौन एकादशी को पूरा को भगवान पूजा करिया उचित और रूल्स रेगुलेशंस कौन मानिया उचित एकादशी। लॉर्ड कृष्ण रिप्लाइड, ओ मेंटेनर ऑफ दिस वर्ल्ड, दिस क्वेश्चन वाज वंस आस्क्ड बाय श्री नारद मुनि टू लॉर्ड ब्रह्मा। नारद मुनि थरे तांगर बापा ब्रह्मा को पछारते सेम क्वेश्चन। Now please hear from me the wonderful history which Lord Brahma narrated to Narad Muni in his reply. जो नारद मुनि को ब्रह्मा जी जहाँ कहते से जिनसा कृष्ण में रिपीट कर। Once the great orator and best of the sages Narada said to Lord Brahma, O Father, what is the name of the Ekadashi that occurs during the waxing moon in the month of June, July? Kindly explain how should I observe this Ekadashi in order to please the Supreme Lord Vishnu? तो ब्रह्मा जी को थरे नारद मुनि एक प्रकार क्वेश्चन पूछते। Lord Brahma replied, there is no other vow in this material world which is as sacred as the vow of Ekadashi. एकादशी परी व्रत ए संसार किसी ना बोली ब्रह्मा जी कहते। इट इज एक्सट्रीमली नेसेसरी फॉर वन to observe this vow of Ekadashi in order to nullify all his sinful reactions। सब पाप कर्म को nullify करिया पई एकादशी व्रत पालन करिया उचित ब्रह्मा जी कहउछन्ते। A person who does not observe Ekadashi in this world would certainly go to hell। जे एकादशी व्रत पालन करेनी से नरक को जाए बोले ब्रह्मा जी कहउछन्ते। सेम जिनसरा कृष्ण मते कहउछन्ते। हां certainly he means certainly। The Ekadashi that occurs during the waxing moon in the month of June July is called Devasayani Ekadashi or Padma Ekadashi। In order to please the Supreme Lord Hrishikesh, one should follow this Ekadashi। Hrishikesh को प्रे कर ऋषिकेश लॉर्ड ऋषिकेश कृष्ण का अन्य नाम तांको खुशी करिया पे एकादशी व्रत पालन करिया उचित। एकादशी स्पेशली it is stated in the Puran there was a saintly emperor named मानधाता। मानधाता विषय पढ़ी नवम स्कंद श्रीमद् भागवत में पढ़ी मानधाता। तेणु ये कहते देयर वाज ए सेंटली एम्पेरर नेम्ड मानधाता हु रूल्ड द एंटायर वर्ल्ड। ही वाज बोर्न इन द डायनेस्टी ऑफ द सन गॉड। सूर्यवंश और चंद्रवंश विषय में पढ़ी। तेणु ये सूर्यवंश राजा मानधाता who was extremely powerful and always stood up for the truth। सत्य पाई सबले से ठिया हुअन्ति ए राजा। This king maintained his subjects piously and affectionately as if they were his own children। In this pious king's kingdom there was no famine, drought or any kind of disease। All his subjects lived peacefully without any anxiety and they were very prosperous। There is no wealth in the treasury of the king which was unlawfully earned। In this way the king and his subjects happily spent their days। ब्रह्मा जी कहते सूर्य वंश रे एमती जने राजा थिले तांका नाम मानधाता। से निज प्रजा मान को निज पिला मान पर केयर करते आ से बड़ पायस व्यक्ति थिले आ से अनलॉफुली कार्ड किसी धन आदाय कर तेणु समस्ते सी भी खुशी थे आ समस्ते भी सब्जेक्ट्स भी खुशी थे। आफ्टर मेनी इयर्स ड्यू टू प्रोविडेंस एंड सम सिनफुल एक्टिविटीज देयर वाज नो रेनफॉल इन हिज किंगडम फॉर 3 consecutive years। एज ए रिजल्ट पीपल बिकेम एफ्लिक्टेड विथ हंगर ड्यू टू लैक ऑफ फूड एंड बिकेम फुल ऑफ एंजाइटी। तेणु एमती गोटे थर है कि जेहेतु लोक मैंने विभिन्न प्रकार सिनफुल एक्टिविटी समय अनुसार सब सिनफुल एक्टिविटीज करती। तेणु गोटे थर एमती है कि राज्य में 3 वर्ष वर्षा है ना वर्षा नहबार मरुड़ी पड़ा मरुड़ी पर लोक मैं खाया किसी मिलला ना। तेणु आज ए रिजल्ट ऑफ सफरिंग फ्रॉम लैक ऑफ फूड द परफॉर्मेंस ऑफ वेरियस सैक्रिफाइसेस एंड द स्टडी ऑफ द वेदर्स केम टू ए स्टैंड स्टिल। तेणु किए यज्ञ कलानी यज्ञ करने तो इंग्रेडिएंट्स दरकार घी दरकार घी आसो केमती गाई खाइले तो गाई खायापी चारा नहीं। तेणु यज्ञ है ब्राह्मण माने किसी क्या खाया मिललानी तेणु यज्ञ करेंगे। तेणु यज्ञ जेहेतु न कले देवता मैंने भी खुशी है तेणु वर्षा भी कले एमतीका 3 वर्ष है। देन ऑल द सब्जेक्ट्स केम बिफोर द किंग एंड अपील्ड ओ किंग प्लीज हियर आवर वर्ड्स व्हिच विल अल्टीमेटली बेनिफिट अस। The water is addressed in the scriptures as Nara। The Supreme Lord resides in Ayana, therefore another name of the Supreme Lord is Narayana। The Supreme Lord Vishnu is all pervading in his form as clouds। He alone causes the rainfall। The food grains are produced from the rain and the living entities sustain on grains। At present, due to lack of these food grains, your subjects are suffering and decreasing। O best of kings, please find some remedy for our miserable condition and restore peace and prosperity among us। सब जनता जाकि राजा को जाकि गुहार कले राजा मध्य से ही इज ऑल्सो सफरिंग आ समस्त सफरिंग कर। तेणु राजा को जाकि कहले कि देखो एमती अनाहार आम मरी जाऊँ आम यज्ञ करूँ कि करूँ। यज्ञ पुरुष होती भगवान विष्णु। तेणु भगवान विष्णु तो खुशी हे तेणु वर्षा करेंगे वर्षा हेल्ले आम सब ग्रेन्स हम माने शस्य हम शस्य हेल्ले बंची पार कि करते विषय भावतु विषय तेणु द किंग रिप्लाइड व्हाट एवर यू हैव सेड इज ट्रू आपने जहाँ कह सत्य द फूड ग्रेन्स आर कंसिडर्ड लाइक ब्रह्मन एवरीथिंग इज सस्टेन्ड बाय फूड ग्रेन्स द लिविंग एंटिटीज ऑफ द एंटायर वर्ल्ड subsist on food grains. It is clearly stated in the Puranas and other scriptures that due to the sinful activities committed by the king, he and his subjects suffer. Then Raja Mandata कहते मुझे आपने जहाँ कहले से सब पुराण मध्य लिखाई वर्षा हेल्ले शस्य हम शस्य लोक जीवन यापन करेंगे तेणु वर्षा कहीं होनी ना विभिन्न प्रकार पाप कर्म जो जदि राजा पापी थाए से राज्य में वर्षा हुए नहीं then it is clearly stated in the Puranas and other scriptures that due to the sinful activities committed by the king he and his subjects suffer घरे राजा बोले हेडमैन ऑफ द हाउस हस्बैंड की फादर जब से माने सिनफुल हेबे घरे समस्त सफरिंग करेंगे गोटे कंट्री गोटे लीडर जब सिनफुल हम एवरीबॉडी विल सफर then although I cannot ascertain my fault through my own consideration and intelligence, I'll nevertheless try my best for the benefit of my subjects. मुझे जानी पाऊँ मुझे कौन भूल भाल करी ची तो से जाओ ना कहेंगे मुझे विषय भाभी मैं कौन भूल कर ची ताकू अटोनमेंट प्रायश्चित करी After speaking in this way, King Mandhata gathered some of his principal armies कि आर्मी की कलेक्ट कर ले and after offering obeisances to Brahma he entered the forest. तेणु राजा फॉरेस्ट गल कि राजा ना कौन मानधाता तेणु within the forest he regularly visited the ashramas of great sages and ascetics. While wandering in the forest in this way, one day by providence the king met the great sage Angira. भगवान का आशीर्वाद रे से अंगिरा मुनि को देखा कले the son of Brahma. अंगिरा मुनि होचनी ब्रह्मांगर पुत्र. Sage Angira was as effulgent as Brahma and all the four directions were illuminated by his effulgence. As soon as the self-controlled king saw him, he immediately got down from his carrier and offered his respectful obeisances at the feet of the sage. Then the king folded his hands and offered prayers. The sage reciprocated by blessing the king. तो राजा जो पालिंग रे जाउथिले सेटू संग संग गोले पड़ले अंगिरा मुनि को देखिकरी ओले करी तांको प्रणाम कले फोल्डिंग हैंड्स से प्रणाम कले अंगिरा मुनि मध्ये तांको आशीर्वाद कले. Thereafter the sage inquired from the king about the cause of his arrival and the well-being of the kingdom. The king replied, तेणु अंगिरा मुनि पचारे तुम केमती अच्छो तुम राज्य लोकन केमती अछंती पचारे तेणु राजा कहले ओ लॉर्ड I have been ruling my kingdom according to religious principles, but there has been no rainfall in my kingdom for the last 3 years. As a result, my subjects are suffering from various miseries, and I have not been able to ascertain its cause in order to remove this cause. हाँ 3 वर्ष है मो राज्य वर्षा है आ मु जानी यार कारण कौन मुझे भावुँ मोर किसी पाप भूल ही थाईपे. हाँ तो टुडे I have come to your lotus feet. Kindly tell me how my subjects can live peacefully and thus attain auspiciousness. तेणु दयाकोरी कहतु मोर राज्य लोक केमती भल रे. The sage Angira Muni replied, O king, this present age of Satya Yuga is the best of all yugas. एटा सत्य युगर कहानी. तेणु ये प्रेजेंट सत्य युग बेस्ट ऑफ ऑल युगस. In this yuga, people worship the supreme Brahman. The fourfold religious principles are manifest in this yuga. No one except the Brahmanas are supposed to perform austerities in the yuga. In spite of this standard, a Sudra in your kingdom is undergoing austerity. तेणु अंगिरा मुनि कहले ब्राह्मण मान तपस्या करिया कथा ए सत्य युग रे किंतु तमर राज्य रे जने शूद्र की गोटे ऑस्टेरी तपस्या करुची. As a result of this unlawful conduct, you are facing its consequences in the form of drought. जेहेतु सी एमती तपस्या करुच्ची से शूद्र जनक तेणु तार फल जो तुम तुम राज्य रे वर्षा होनी. Therefore, you should try to kill him and bring peace and prosperity into your kingdom. ତେଣୁ ତାଙ୍କୁ ମାରିବା ଉଚିତ ଆଉ ତେବେ ଯାଇକି ତୁମ ରାଜ୍ୟରେ ବର୍ଷା ହେବ. କାରଣ ଚତୁର୍ବର୍ଣ୍ଣ ଯେଉଁ ଭଗବାନଙ୍କ ଦ୍ୱାରା ତିଆରି ହେଇଛି ଚତୁର୍ବର୍ଣ୍ଣ ମାୟା ସୃଷ୍ଟ ଗୁଣକର୍ମ ବିଭାଗ ସହ. ତେଣୁ ବ୍ରାହ୍ମଣମାନେ ତାଙ୍କର ଡ୍ୟୁଟି କରିବା କଥା, କ୍ଷତ୍ରିୟ ତାଙ୍କର, ବୈଶ୍ୟ ତାଙ୍କର, ଆଉ ଶୂଦ୍ର ତାଙ୍କର. କିନ୍ତୁ ଶୂଦ୍ର ଯେତେବେଳେ ବ୍ରାହ୍ମଣ ବିର ବ୍ୟବହାର କରିବ ତେଣୁ ସୋସାଇଟିରେ chaotic situation ଆସିବ. The king said, "O great sage, it will be impossible for me to kill an innocent person who is engaged in performing austerity. Therefore, please instruct me about some easy solution." ତେଣୁ ରାଜା କହିଲେ ସେ ଜଣେ ଅଷ୍ଟରୀ ତପସ୍ୟା କରୁଛି, ସେ ଶୂଦ୍ର ହେଲେ କ'ଣ ହେଲା ତପସ୍ୟା କରୁଛି, ତେଣୁ ତାକୁ ମାରିବାଟା ମୋ ପକ୍ଷେ ଉଚିତ ହେବନି, ତେଣୁ ଆଉ ଗୋଟେ ରାସ୍ତା ବତାନ୍ତୁ, ଇଜି ରାସ୍ତା. ତେଣୁ ଦେନ୍ ଦି ସେଜ୍ ରିପ୍ଲାଇଡ୍, "O king, if this is the case, then observe the sacred Ekadashi known as Padma." ତେଣୁ ତୁମେ ଯଦି ତାକୁ ମାରିପାରିବନି ତାହେଲେ ଗୋଟେ କାମ କର, ଏକାଦଶୀ ବ୍ରତ ପାଳନ କର. Or Devasayani Ekadashi, which occurs during the waxing moon in the month of June, July. By the influence of this vow, there will certainly be rainfall in your kingdom. ତେଣୁ ଏକାଦଶୀ ବ୍ରତ ପାଳନ କଲେ ତୁମେ ବର୍ଷା ହେବ, ତୁମ ରାଜ୍ୟରେ ବର୍ଷା ହେବ. This Ekadashi hours 1. All auspiciousness and perfection. It destroys all obstacles on the path of perfection. O king, you along with your subjects should observe this Ekadashi. ତେଣୁ ରାଜା ଆଉ ରାଜାଙ୍କର ଯେଉଁ ସବୁ ପ୍ରଜାମାନେ ଥିଲେ ସବୁ ପ୍ରଜାମାନେ ଏକାଦଶୀ ବ୍ରତ ପାଳନ କଲେ, ସମସ୍ତେ ଏକାଦଶୀ ବ୍ରତ ସମସ୍ତେ ପାଳନ କଲେ. After hearing the assuring words of the great sage, the king offered his obeisances and returned to his palace. Thereafter, in the month of Ashad or July, the king, along with his family members and subjects, properly observed this auspicious Padma or Sayana Ekadashi. By the influence of this observance, the rain poured down all over the kingdom. ତେଣୁ ଯେହେତୁ ସେମାନେ ଏକାଦଶୀ ବ୍ରତ ପାଳନ କଲେ ତାଙ୍କ ରାଜ୍ୟରେ ବର୍ଷା ହେଲା. There was no more scarcity of water, and soon the entire world became filled with food grains. And by the mercy of the Supreme Lord Rishikesh, everyone lived happily. Therefore, it is the duty of everyone to observe this sacred Ekadashi, which offers everyone happiness and liberation. By hearing and reading the glories of this Ekadashi, all one's sinful reactions are destroyed. By hearing and ଆପଣ ଠିକ ଶୁଣିଲେ ତ ସମସ୍ତେ, କେବଳ hearing. By hearing and reading the glories of this Ekadashi, all one's sinful reactions are destroyed. This Ekadashi is also known as Vishnu Sayani Ekadashi. In order to please Lord Vishnu, the devotees observe this Ekadashi with special devotion. They do not endeavor for material enjoyment. Ekadashi dina material enjoyment କରିବା ଉଚିତ ନୁହେଁ, or they do not endeavor for material enjoyment or liberation. Rather, they pray for pure devotion service to the Lord. ଭଗବାନଙ୍କୁ ଏକାଦଶୀରେ ପ୍ରେ କରନ୍ତି कि हमको डिवोशनल सर्विस, प्योर डिवोशनल सर्विस केमती करिपरिबो. The famous vow of Chaturmasya begins from this Ekadashi. As it was Chaturmasya start. The devotees observe the vow of Chaturmasya by hearing and chanting the topics of the Lord for 4 months, beginning from the day when Lord Hari goes to bed up to the day he wakes up. 4 ମାସ ପରେ ते उठिबे हरि उत्थान एकादशी. हेले Maharaj Yudhishthir said to Lord Krishna, "O Krishna, please tell me how one should observe this Vishnu Sayana Vrata or Chaturmasya Vrata." Chaturmasya Vrata केमती पालन करंदी सेटा मुझे कहि देबे. Lord Krishna replied, "O king, when the sun remains in the sign of Cancer, then Sri Madhusudan, the Lord of the entire universe, goes to bed. And when the sun goes to the sign of Libra, the Lord wakes up." The vow of Chaturmasya commences from the day of Sayana Ekadashi. Sayana Ekadashi to Chaturmasya start hochi. O King Yudhishthir, after taking bath, one should dress Lord Vishnu in yellow garments. Then he should make a bed and cover it with white sheets to put the Lord to rest. First, one should bath the Lord with five ingredients such as yogurt, milk, ghee, honey, and sugar water by the qualified brahmanas. Then one should wipe the Lord's body with a cloth and apply fragrant sandalwood paste. Uh, and then he should worship the Lord by offering incense, a ghee lamp, and flowers with devotion. ତେଣୁ ଶିଲା ପ୍ରଭୁପାଦ ଯାହା କହିଛନ୍ତି ଆମେ ତ ଡେଲି ସେୟା କରୁଛୁ ଡେଲି we are doing that. One can also begin observing this vow of Chaturmasya either from the day of Ekadashi or Dvadashi or Purnima or Ashtami or Sankranti. It depends on the individual. Purnamit, then one can also begin observing the vow of Chaturmasya either from the day of Ekadashi or day of Dvadashi, Ajitu, Kima Asana Kalitu, Kima Purnimatu, Kima Ashtamitu or Sankrantitu. So when the sun enters into the sign of Cancer. Sankranti, जो संक्रांति बोले कौन हुए कहले संक्रांतिर अर्थ माने सूर्य गोटे घर आ गोटे घर जाती कहते संक्रांति तेणु the vow of Chaturmasya ends on the day of Dvadashi which falls the day after Utthana Ekadashi in the month of Kartik. Kartik masare Utthana Ekadashi the next dino Dvadashi dino Chaturmasya sabch. A person who observes the vow of Chaturmasya while remembering Lord Hari goes back to the abode of Lord Vishnu sitting on an airplane as effulgent as the sun. जन चतुर्मास्य व्रत जे पालन करे भगवान विष्णु गोटे प्लेन पठाती तापाई जे से समय देह त्याग करे ते हरिधाम को डायरेक्ट जाए तेणु anyone who cleans the temple and the courtyard of the Lord decorates them with flowers and creepers and feeds the brahmanas according to his capacity at the end of the vow obtains inexhaustible happiness for 7 lifetimes. By offering ghee lamps to the Lord during this vow, one can become fortunate and prosperous. One who chants Gayatri Mantra 108 times in the temple of the Lord in 3 different times, morning, noon and evening, no longer has to indulge in sinful activities. Lord Vasudev becomes pleased with such a person. No, it is printing error tikachi. Lord Vasudev becomes pleased with such a person and the practitioner returns to the abode of Vishnu. Anyone who donates 28 or 108 pots of sesame seeds to the intelligent brahmanas at the end of the vow becomes freed from his sinful reactions accumulated by his body, mind and speech. He becomes freed from all diseases and obtains intelligent children. A practitioner of devotional service should not sleep on a bedshed for the 4 months during which Lord Janardhan takes rest. It is prohibited to have sex during Chaturmasya except for the days of menstruation. One should observe this vow by fasting, eating only once a day or eating that which comes without asking for it. One who chants and sings before Lord Vishnu during Chaturmasya goes to the planet of the Gandharvas. A person who gives up eating jaggery or good is blessed to his sons and grandsons. After giving up oil, one becomes beautiful and his enemies are destroyed. By giving up the taste of bitter, pungent, sour, sweet and salty preparations, one's ugliness and bodily odor is vanished. Those who give up the enjoyment of flowers go to the heavenly planets and become Vidyadharas. By giving up the chewing of betel nuts, one immediately becomes diseaseless. If one eats of the bare floor, if one eats of the bare floor. He attains the heavenly abode of Indra. If one gives up milk and yogurt for the pleasure of Krishna, if one gives up milk and yogurt for the pleasure of Krishna, he goes to the supreme abode Goloka. So many Phalaprada. One who does not cut his nails or shave his head attains the good fortune of touching the lotus feet, of touching his lotus feet of Lord Vishnu. One who does not cut his nails or shave his head attains the good fortune of touching the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu. One who circumambulates the temple of the Lord returns to the abode of Lord Vishnu, riding on an airplane carried by swans. ये सब हूँ फलस्तुति एकादशी व्रत और चतुर्मास्य व्रत पालन करें कले ये सब फल लाभ तो जाओ ना कहीं आम तो सब एकादशी व्रत पालन करा पड़ो हाँ आ भगवान का आरती दिया तो आज यूजुअल हाँ हाँ तेणु आमको सब एकादशी व्रत पालन करा पड़ो जमी भगवान विग्रह अर्चना करमती अर्चना करुवे भगवान को नाम जप टी अधिक करा उचित हाँ इम्पोर्टाट हूँ भगवान नाम कीर्तन इम्पोर्टाट हूँ एटा भगवान नाम कीर्तन भगवान मन ऑलवेज शुड बी थिंकिंग ऑफ कृष्ण दैट इज मोर इम्पोर्टेंट ओके सो देवसायन एकादशी व्रत की जय शिल प्रभुपाद की जय श्री गुरु महाराज की जय अनंत कोटि वैष्णव भक्त वृंद की जय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरे हरि बोल।